We have private investment of $2 trillion that have been pledged to invest in the United States in the first 100 days of the presidency. We have foreign investments of $3 trillion. That's $5 trillion invested in our economy just in the first 100 days. People like to see what is going on right now. You have gas prices down 22%. And when you start talking to American people, they are excited about where our country is headed.
This isn't some criticism from the media. It's the polling that voters are not happy with where the economy is going. They don't feel good about the president's policies, and they think they're making the economy worse. Why do you think that is?
Well, I would go, what demographic are they polling? Who are they talking to? Because when I'm talking to people in Oklahoma.
MarkWayne Mullin. You heard me correctly. MarkWayne is his first name. Out of Oklahoma, where they consistently rank in the lowest when it comes to education. And just like that, we back, man. How y'all doing out there in the world? I hope y'all doing fine. As for me, I cannot complain, me, myself. And now, you dig what I'm saying. Real quick, man, before I get into it, if you like what I'm doing, like, subscribe to the content, and we'll keep the train moving. As I always say, now, we're about to talk about these first 100 days, man. And in particular, one MarkWayne Mullin, MWM. It seemed like somebody got bored when they named, because it was just like maybe somebody was named, his dad was Mark. It's just like, just flip it upside down a couple times. We lazy, we tired, we just went through childbirth. He ain't gonna be nothing but a chud. Well, I guess he's somebody, being in the government right now is not something that one can tout. You dig what I'm saying? Don't seem like it take a lot of spectacular things on your resume to be chosen for one of those spots, I must say. But here we are at the first 100 days, right? Prices have not gone down. It's just all kind of chaos. We've been keeping up with it all. It'll be a lot for me to rehash before I get into this video. This video in particular, like I said, Mr. MarkWayne Mullin out of Oklahoma. I spoke on how consistently they rank in the lower 40th portion. We've got 50 states, right? Okay. They're consistently below 40 in terms of education. So it's not that far-fetched that we get the type of interview that we got from Mr. MarkWayne Mullin here in the last couple of days. But you have to see it to believe it. It defies imagination. You dig what I'm saying? So without further ado, we're going to let MarkWayne get to doing this thing.
When I took over, you remember the big thing with eggs. They hit me the first week, eggs, like it was my fault. I said, I didn't cause this problem. This problem was caused by Biden. What's the problem with eggs? And they said, they've doubled. And well, eggs are down 87%.
As we reported last week, the national wholesale price for a dozen of large white eggs has gone down. Last Friday, it was about $3.13, according to the Department of Agriculture, which is down from the $6.55 the week that President Trump took office. That's a decline of about 52%, not 87% or even 93 or 94, as we've heard from him. On day 100 of the president's second term and into his second presidency, he is declaring a success and also touting the tariffs that he's put in place, even as they've roiled the financial markets and created deep concern for many voters. My lead source tonight is the Republican Senator MarkWayne Mullin of Oklahoma, and it's great to have you here. Obviously, you're a huge ally of the president's. And now that he's 100 days in, and the economy seems to be a major focus for a lot of voters as they're looking at this. In that interview tonight, he talked about the 145% tariffs in place on China. He said he thinks China will actually end up eating most of that. Is that how you see it, though?
Well, I do. I think China has to have us. If you start looking at the economy is strong. Caitlin, I know the voters are looking at it. You got to remember, underneath President Biden's 4 years in office, he averaged inflation at 4.95%, nearly 5%, at a high of 9.1%. Today, inflation is down to 2.4%. You start talking about optimism inside the economy. We have 229,000 jobs created. 459,000 jobs went from part-time to full-time. We have private investment of $2 trillion that have been pledged to invest in the United States in the first 100 days of the presidency. We have foreign investments of $3 trillion. That's $5 trillion invested in our economy just in the first 100 days. People like to see what is going on right now. You have gas prices down 22%. And when you start talking to American people, they are excited about where our country is headed.
But if the numbers are as good as the president says they are, I mean, he's wildly exaggerating how much eggs are down. They're not down 87%. If they were, people would be paying 50 cents for a dozen of eggs, which obviously you know that they're
the
not.
The fact is they're down. And as I said, at the height...
Right, but why not just say
but
exactly how much they're down?
Well, at the height, it was 9.1%. So it depends on what metric you're using. At 9.1%, they're down to 2.4% now. Inflation, that is a significant drop. That's not 50%. You're getting down to actual real numbers at that point. So it depends on which point you're talking about. We can discuss wherever we want to on the eggs of what source you want to say or at what time frame he may be referring to. The fact is, prices are down, and we see them.
But they're not
continuously
down as
dropping.
much as he's saying that they're down for eggs. So I'm saying if my
so
argument,
let's use the math. What's 9.1% down to 2.4%? What's
I'm
the
saying if the numbers are as good as you think they are, and as you're arguing, and that's number from the agriculture department. Why not just say they're down 52% or 53% instead of 87%?
It's interesting to me that we're focused on the price of eggs when we know it's down. What I don't remember hearing is when Biden was in office.
Again, as I will say in every video, it should be an insult to your intelligence, conservative voters out in the world, that people think that they can say and tell you anything and you believe it. This man just sat there and said, we've got $2 trillion in pledged investments, another $3 trillion in seashells from the seashore. We've got $5 trillion already in the bank. You know, they holler about all of these 75,000 countries that have called Trump to make deals. We have not seen evidence of not one of them. Not one of them can they quote you has actually happened. The terms of it, it's amazing. Again, it should insult your intelligence. I mean, we insult you all enough. You dig what I'm saying? I guess that's why you just choose to look past it, because it's utterly embarrassing, man. Like, and I've got a video coming out about that whole little Twitter X platform. That's really a breeding ground for foolery, man. It's really embarrassing the way people conduct themselves out here. But MarkWayne is just now getting on his roll. Like, he doesn't understand numbers or anything. Let's continue.
And inflation was not 9.1%, about you talking about how high the prices were, or anybody for that matter actually saying, okay, why is inflation at 9.1%? Why are we averaging 4.95, nearly 5% of inflation? Why is it in the first 100 days? That should be the conversation. Why is it in the first 100 days that the president was able to bring down inflation to 2.4% and have $5 trillion of investment inside the United States? Why wasn't that happening in the last 4 years of the Biden administration?
There it is, Biden. They cannot, I mean, I guess they're still using the excuse that it's only 100 days in, so we can attribute everything to Biden. If it's not Biden, it's Obama. Here we go. It didn't take him long, what, 2, 3, 4 minutes into the interview? Here's Biden. Blame it on Biden. Then he makes up these 9.1, 2.4s and metrics, and he doesn't understand American numbers and American money and what we're talking about. We don't use the Chinese yen. We don't use the mark. We don't use the euro dollar, whatever they got over there. We use American money, greenbacks, bro. You know what else system of metric could you be talking about? What other metric matters to the American people other than what is the price? Fake numbers thrown out. And then like Caitlin says, if the numbers are what you say, why not announce that? Why go on these hunts and these witch hunts? Yeah, that'd be a good word to use. Why use these intimidation tactics to tell people what they can and cannot display on their website when you go to make a purchase? Should be insulting to your intelligence, man.
I think if you asked anyone in the Biden White House, they got asked about inflation all day long. It was essentially one of the only questions reporters asked them. So I don't think that that's a fair criticism. But on the numbers, when you're looking at that, this isn't some criticism from the media. It's the polling that voters are not happy with where the economy's going. They don't feel good about the president's policies, and they think they're making the economy worse. Why do you think that is? Well,
I would go, what demographic are they polling? Who are they talking to? Because when I'm talking to people in Oklahoma, or I'm talking to people in Texas, or I'm talking to people in Alabama, or wherever I'm traveling to, which granted I'm traveling to red states, they're very optimistic about where we're headed to. They're excited about what's happening inside the country. And I think investors are that way too. As I go back to it, in the first 100 days, we've had $5 trillion pledged to invest inside the United States.
Recycled drivel, man. First of all, MarkWayne Mullins, not Bruce Wayne, MarkWayne. I wouldn't imagine that MarkWayne is holding any town halls. Those on red alert status for the right side of things. If he was on the ground, I would not imagine that MarkWayne Mullins is talking to people that are excited about the direction. It's so amazing, man. It's so amazing how people that can stand to, hold off another 6 months. And I grant you, I'll still be, God willing, I'll still be making this show in 6 months. And I am willing to bet you a significant amount of money that 6 months from now, things will be even worse. They would not have gotten better at any point. You understand what I'm saying? As far as these prices, as far as the rhetoric coming out of the White House, as far as the illegal actions. By then, a lot of them will probably be unraveled through the courts because the judge is denying motions all across the country. But I would imagine that 6 months from now, they'll have another excuse for why things aren't fixed. 6 months from now. But again, when you got people like MarkWayne Mullins, man, coming out of Oklahoma, one of the least educated states in the union, it's not surprising, man. Trump sycophant, loyalist, which is pretty much everybody in that administration. So you can't trust anything that comes out of it. And any numbers that come from any official agency outside of them, let them tell it. Who are they polling? What are the demographics? But if that poll would have came out and said that 95% approve of Donald Trump and what he's doing, and Pete Hegseth and all of that, every one of them would have had it on their Twitter page. They've been making a podcast. Look at these numbers. And if someone were to produce that on some, it doesn't even take alt-right website, but the Daily Callers and the Daily Storm, then you dig, well, those are right wings, but any number of political talking heads on Twitter or Rumble or what have you, if they would have produced something like that and put it out, you would undoubtedly have plenty of them retweeting it and swearing by it and all that. But if a poll comes out, even from a reputable source that does not speak their language, then now it's like, them polls, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really, That's like a Dominion voting system branch. Like, they trip. It's wild, bro. Should be an insult to your intelligence, but obviously it's not.
Why weren't they doing that underneath the Biden administration?
Yeah, I looked at the CNN polling. It was, I think, the sample that they surveyed, it was more Republicans than it was Democrats, and then a lot of independents in there as well. It was a pretty broad swath. And it's also not just the CNN poll. It's the ABC Washington Post poll. There's a Fox News poll that's out where his numbers are down. And so I guess the question is, when you look at that, is there any sense when you look at those numbers that the White House needs to change course?
Caitlin, numbers don't lie. Polling, you can skew however you want to. When I restate these numbers,
that is what's known as a Freudian slip. I wouldn't expect Mr. Mullin to know anything about that, but that's what that was. Numbers don't lie, but then in the same breath, you can manipulate the numbers to do what you will, and what you can. But that first statement is tried and true through time and infinity. That numbers don't lie.
Again, inflation is down to 2.4%. We're an average of 4.95%, 5% underneath the Biden administration.
Yeah, inflation is down.
9.1%. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but when you have $5 trillion pledged of investment in the first 100 days, I believe the investors, I believe the job creators, those that create the jobs, that hire the individuals, I think it speaks for themselves. When you have 459,000 jobs that were part-time just 100 days ago, today they're full-time, I believe the economy is moving in the right direction. And so we should be talking about what has happened in the first 100 days. Why is it that the President Trump was able to do this and Biden couldn't?
Gone back and looked up the interest rate, the inflation rate, I should say, this time last year. Maybe I will. But I do know that right now inflation rate is at 2.39, down from what, 2.48 a month ago, at the most 3.48 last year. So this 9.1 to 2.4, that's what she's saying. Like, bro, why do you have to fudge the numbers all the time? I'll let you know they may probably run around stealing all kind of money in Washington, D.C. Why do you have to fudge the numbers? Like, I've never seen a time where lies were rewarded like that, man. Why say 87%? Why not just say 52? Why not say, well, I'll say why. Why not say, well, it was 3.48 last year. It's at 2.39 now. A drop of 1.09%. You know why they won't say that? Because there's nothing to brag on. That's not even anything. That's a product of anything Donald Trump and his administration is doing. But they will make up a lie and go back to Biden and mention his name and throw out a 9.1%, looking at it as though they've come down 7-8% points. When the people go into the stores every day living their regular lives, no, this isn't true. How could you be watching this man, looking at your bills, looking at your receipt from the store you just went to? You can go to Temu right now, type in the product, and see what the price is at the bottom. You can do that right now as you're watching him. Last night, as he was being watched, people could have been doing that. But that's MarkWayne Mullin. He doesn't understand that we use American money. He's from Oklahoma. That is consistently ranked in the lowest when it comes to education.
S&P 500 posted its biggest loss in the first 100 days of a presidency since Nixon in 1973. I mean, those are hard numbers.
Well, think about this. Well, but think about the stock market. The stock market deals on today's news, not on the future. What the president is trying to do with the tariffs is he's trying to build a workforce for the future. We know without question that countries were taking advantage of the United States' generosity for years. That countries all across Europe, all across Asia have became wealthy on taking products that were once built inside the United States, build it in their country, and then selling it back to us and taking the dollars out. When the president said enough's enough, we're tired of countries taking advantage of us, we're going to right this ship and we're going to build a workforce for the future. The stock market didn't react the way that, actually reacted the way we expected it to, really, because they deal on today's futures, not tomorrow's futures.
At this point, the Freudian slips are just, impossible to ignore. You dig what I'm saying? Your brain, you can't fool your brain. You know what I'm saying? You can say a lot through your lips, but your brain is saying the truth of statement the whole time. You dig what I'm saying? And when you ain't got your shit together, this is what happens.
And that's understandable. But the market that the president is building is going to be better for the future generation.
Yeah, and the president is making that argument tonight that he ran on tariffs. This is what he's now putting in place. Maybe Wall Street didn't believe him. But on this today, amid this report that Amazon was going to start showing how prices were impacted by his tariffs, you would see what you would pay without the tariffs and you'd see what you pay with them. Amazon quickly denied that they're actually going to do that. But the White House lashed out and called it a hostile and political act. Why would a company being transparent about why prices are going up be hostile?
I actually had a meeting with the CEO of distribution and small stores and retails for Amazon before we came on air tonight. Mm-hmm. And he said that was based on a story that was based on a very small aspect of Amazon. But Amazon was never doing that. And so we got into pricing, started talking about pricing, right? You started talking about how that would work. He says, we haven't increased pricing. We haven't increased pricing. We don't expect to increase pricing. We haven't seen the tariffs increase. Most retailers, major retailers, had surged up before the tariffs came in because we knew what the president had said. And so we saw a larger surge in surplus in warehouse goods than we did even over Christmas. And so the consumer is not seeing this tariff that everybody is talking about.
Don't you think?
Well, according to him, it'll be weeks, possibly months before you see it happening.
But that's not that long from now, just a few weeks from now. I mean,
well, think about how fast the president has moved in 100 days. And when you say just a few weeks, I didn't say a few weeks. I said weeks, possibly months. When you start talking about what the president has accomplished in the first 100 days, can you imagine what he can do in the next 100 days? We're talking about 90 days if you want to start about months. We're talking about 90 days from now, 3 months from now. What else can happen?
Man, a lot can happen in 90 more days. Has he not been keeping up with the first 100 now? We know they have a blind spot for imperfections and atrocities, as you will. But yeah, 90 days from now, we could be in a much worse, and I imagine that we will be in a much worse position. So for him to just push it, but this is what they do. They kick the can down the road. It was immediate first day, but then when that didn't happen, he was just talking, Trump. He just say all kind of wild shit, but what I mean, it's going to take a little time. And then it was like, okay, first 100 days, now the 100 days is here. Okay, now let's give it 3 months. 3 months is really 6 months. End of the year it's the first year of his presidency. We had to let things settle out, and we kicking it into next year. But the thing about 2 years from now, there's a thing called the midterms. So time is ticking. MarkWayne Mullin.
On the premise, though, so in 6 weeks we could see prices go up. If
I don't think it'll be 6 weeks. It'll be past that.
So when should voters, do you think, be prepared for?
I don't think you got to be prepared for it. I think you're going to see a deal made. Countries need to do business with our economy. They want to do business with our economy. Think about what's the products made in China. Who needs economies worse? China, 40% of all their manufacturing goods that they make today are sold inside the United States. But
you yourself acknowledged the last time you were here, a tariff is a tax that is passed on to consumers. You've said that pretty bluntly. The question, I think, that was raised today is, why is it the responsibility of a CEO or someone who owns a company to shield the White House from the cost of their policies by not raising prices?
What do you mean shield? That's what a business owner does. We prepare for the markets ahead.
But all businesses are not going to eat these prices. You don't think that, right?
I never said they were going to eat the prices. I think some of them will be able to absorb some of them, but the retailer can't. The manufacturer can. So the margins at a retail store is much, much smaller than the margins at a manufacturing plant. So a lot of them can be absorbed from the manufacturer, and I believe they will absorb some of them. But you don't expect a retailer, when they're working off 2, 3, or at the top 6% margins, to be able to absorb that. It should be consumed at the manufacturing level, though, which is why we're trying to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. And that's what President Trump is doing.
A years-long endeavor, and something that is not done in a few weeks or
But months. Trade deals can be done, and the president is absolutely the best president we've ever had to right this ship on unfair trade practices that the countries have taken advantage of. And the president, no one can work a deal better than President Trump.
We're staying on top of it closely. None have been announced so far. Senator Mullin, thank you for coming on tonight.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your
Thanks
time
for having
as
always.
Yes, the art of the deal. But as you heard Caitlin Collins say at the end, none of them have been announced. What's the holdup? He announced tariffs. He had tariffs Tuesday a couple weeks ago. At this point, what's the holdup, Mr. Art Deal Maker? What's going on? Oh, well, it take a little while for them to type their number into you got a new cell phone, you know what I'm saying? They got to accept your number call and then call you back, and then it's like, come on, bro. Again, it should be an insult to your intelligence, and people that aren't sycophants, that aren't on that side of the political spear, they seem to display a much deeper level of critical thinking, man. That's really just, whether disrespect that you all feel, the various names we have for you individuals, this is where it comes from, man. It's a reason that we have such colorful language when it comes to you all, because we think deeper. We have a deeper vocabulary. You dig what I'm saying? Like, should that not be obvious? Just go to Twitter and just look at the insults they posting. Look at the insults that people on the left of them post. They're much more thought out and worded properly. And, they just go back to talking about Obama, or you're a socialist. Or it's just so, oh my God, bro. But I say all the time to my little one, you cannot expect someone to think above their pay grade. And you should just let that sink in, man. But that was MarkWayne Mullin, sounding like various individuals from that side of the political spear that are just out here fooling and fumbling over their words, man, trying to defend the indefensible. And things are not going well. We do not have someone that seems to be competent and capable of doing the job himself, nor hiring individuals around him to get the job done along with him. And we, the people, are out here spending money, living lives every day, sometimes living check to check, what have you. We actually see the prices. We actually see the impact. People like MarkWayne Mullin, although he is from a lowly educated state of Oklahoma, he's managed to get himself in a position to where his finances are fine. He doesn't have to worry about the downtick, the dip. He can actually buy the dip. And so him and individuals like him are basically telling everybody else to lose all your shit in hopes that it's going to get better. Even if it does get better at that point, do you know the amount of people that would have lost businesses, man? People have dropped out of school, people that have lost health care and food stamp benefits, and, may have resorted to go out here and try to take some, man. It could be a lot of chaos created from people losing money. That's all we really care about in America is money. But the people with the money are telling the people without money or that are living on limited means to just hold out. Just hold on a little longer. It hadn't happened yet. We don't see any evidence of it, but we'll keep telling you that we have, and it is. And this is going to be an interesting journey. So until next time, man, just like that, I'm out.